So obviously it's the perspective thing, right? Your perspective be your power, your prison, something that we know so well. And so I'm thinking about like, man, like how can my perspective be my power? And if I was to write a letter to the coronavirus, a year from now or 10 years from now or 20 years from now, that letter would be, thank you for what? Thank you for helping me discover a deeper level of my creativity. Thank you for sitting me at home with my family. So what would be your letter? And I want you to think about that because this is the thing that I know. And I wasn't going to share this, but it's something that really helped me over this time was reading this book called Man's Search for Meanings by Viktor Frankl. And it really showed me that I don't want to give the whole story away, but basically this man is in a concentration camp and people were asking him like, he's seen people die, seeing people just lose their purpose and lose everything, like lose basically their life, especially mentally, before they lost it physically. And people were wondering, how did he survive? And he survived that by finding meaning, right? Meaning will give you life. When you have something to go towards, when you have something to progress to, when you have something to shoot for, when you have something to live for, is even a better word to say, you will find a way, right, to pull through. So right now, I want you to think about the meaning that you're giving things, because if it's a disempowering meaning, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be stressed, you're going to be worried, and those things literally like weaken the immune system. And this isn't a coronavirus like training, by the way, but it's just on my heart to tell you this. Those things weaken the immune system. And if your immune system is weakened, obviously that makes you more susceptible to get sick. So what's going to be the positive meaning that you take from this? One of the things that I think about too, at home with my kids, and you guys have kids at home, I think about this from a kid's perspective. Like when Marley, who's my 6-month-old daughter, Maya, who is 3 years old, going on 48 really, going on 4 years old. Tristan, he has great understanding of what's going on, but even him, I think about, when they read this in the history books, when Maya and Marley read this in the history books, 20 years from now, which was, obviously the hardest thing that we've ever been through in our lifetime, they're not going to see it like that. They're going to see it as, this was a fun, awesome time. I just remember us all being at home. I remember us all eating dinner together, playing Uno together, playing Quarantine Olympics, doing all these crazy things together. And I just think about it like that. Like, so to your kids, this is probably not a bad time, especially if the environment isn't toxic. This is probably the best time of their life because they have everybody there. And that's all about perspective. So I just want to challenge you to think like that during this time. I'm praying for you, and I know that you can make it through this, and you will make it through this. Things will get better. And before we get into the actual training, which we're going to talk about purpose today, because it's the question that I get so much, like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And I think it's very purposeful, no pun intended, for what we're going through in this time anyway. But I want to go through a protect your peace moment like we always do, just to recenter ourselves before we actually get into this training, because, times is crazy. Our emotions are everywhere. Anxiety, all these worries are flooding our mind and flooding our life, and even myself. And so I want to center ourselves before we get into this training. So if you want to, close your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes for the time being. And if you're not closing your eyes, it's kind of weird because you're just looking at me closing my eyes. So close your eyes. And I want you to think about something that has been really strong on my heart. I can't avoid these words. The last probably week, these things kept popping up because, I'm going to be honest and transparent with you. Like this stuff is hard, dealing with certain things and trying to figure things out came out of nowhere. But these words kept popping up to me. Trent, remember who you are. And I want to say those words to you right now. I want you to remember who you are. Remember who you were before this virus. Remember who you were before that setback. Remember who you were before that pain. Remember who you were before that failed relationship. Remember who you were before that failed, for that abuse that came into your life, before the comparison. Just remember who you are, because this world oftentimes tries to make us forget, whether it's our own insecurities because we're comparing ourselves and we become something that we're not, or whether it's people's opinions, or whether it's the rejection that we get when we go to try to shop our dreams or shop our vision, or maybe it's a job interview. We've been told no so much that we believe that that's who we are. And some of us, if we're being honest, we're living our life in an identity that's not ours. We're living a life that's not ours. We're walking a path of life that's not meant for us to walk. And we wonder why we feel incomplete. We wonder why we feel disconnected. We wonder why we feel empty inside. We wonder why we don't feel fulfillment. We feel the lack of fulfillment. It's because we have taken on an identity that's not who we are. So I want you to go back into a time in your life. Maybe it's when you were a kid. Maybe it's, before this whole thing. Maybe you had life figured out. But go back to that time in your life where you felt the most confident, where you felt the most alive. Maybe it was a sports game in high school. Maybe it was a tennis match. Maybe it was field day. And, you playing dodgeball and you just crushing people, hitting people in the head with the ball and everything like that. But go back to that time in your life where you felt complete. You felt secure with who you were. And if you're a person listening to this right now, you say, well, Trent, I never felt like that. I didn't have the example. I didn't have the family. I want you to visualize you living at the greatest level of life in your life. You doing what you want to do with your life. You're being the greatest you. And I want you to remember who you are. And who you are is greatness. Who you are is an achiever. Who you are is a warrior. Who you are is a champion. And I know it's hard to sometimes realize that you don't feel like a champion when it seems like your life is just losing over and over and over again. And it's loss after loss after loss and setback after setback after setback. And you're like, when does this end? Those things that come into your life aren't you. They're just things that come into your life. Those things don't have to define your life. Those things can refine your life. Those things can make you better. Those things can make you stronger. Remember who you are. And every single day you wake up, you look yourself in the mirror. And I don't care if you have to write it on your mirror where you see it. You write down the truths. You write down the people say it's being cocky. It's not being cocky. It's being confident. You write down the truths about yourself, the things that you love, the things that really stand out about your life. And you remind yourself every single day of who you are. So when depression sets in, you fight that with reminding yourself of who you are. When people try to bring you less into your life and want you to settle, you fight that by reminding yourself of who you are. Maybe somebody did you wrong and you don't understand it. You remind yourself of who you are. And the more we can remind ourselves of who we are, the more we can live a more fulfilled life. Remember who you are. All right, guys, open your eyes now. And I just hope that spoke to you a bit, because oftentimes we forget that. We forget our power that we have. I'm a firm believer. I serve an awesome God. You serve an awesome God. And a lot of times we forget the power that's in us because we feel so powerless by certain things in our life. So remember who you are. Today's topic, okay, let's get right into this. I hope you feel good. I feel better. I feel looser. I feel just more relieved since we did that Protect Your Peace moment. And that's something I try to do every single day, by the way. But today's topic is special. Today's topic, I feel like, will change your life, literally. I think this is the question that I've asked myself so much. I think it's the question it's probably the main question that I get, and it's probably a question I'm sure you've asked yourself a lot, and I want to change your mindset forever when it comes to this. When I talk about this, people are literally blown away. It probably would be my next book title, called I Am Purpose, but people are blown away when I talk about this because it's so simplistic. Today we're going to talk about purpose. What is your purpose? Right? The $1 million question that everybody asks, everybody's wondering, like, what is my purpose in life? Why am I here? And I'm about to just totally change your whole mindset when it comes to this. Right now, what I want you to do is I want you to write this somewhere that you can see it every single day. I don't care if you get a shirt, you get it tattooed on you, feel free. I know we're in quarantine right now, so you ain't getting no tattoo because social distancing. But I want you to find a place where you can see this every single day. And I want you to write these 3 words. I am purpose. And we're going to break down why this is true. Because the thing about it is, what's on my heart? Romans 12, okay? If you are a believer, diving into your faith, go read Romans 12, and it's just the perfect picture of what God has for our life. But this is the thing. This is a mistake that a lot of people make, the mistake that I made, is that purpose, we think purpose is something that we search for. And literally in my book, The Greatest You, I think it's chapter 2 or 3, I'm not sure which one, I literally went back and rewrote that chapter because I used to be the person that had all these frameworks like, this is how you find your purpose. And I realized, I was like, wait a minute, that's not how you find your purpose. How you find your purpose is finding yourself because you are purpose. The quote that I want to put into your heart right now, purpose is not something you search for. Purpose is who you are. Purpose is not something that you search for. Purpose is who you are. And the mistake that so many people make is that they identify false purposes in their life because, somebody probably told you, well, if you feel these things, this is probably your purpose. Or if you do this certain framework, this is your purpose. And what happened in my life, you guys know my story, I'm not going to be here long, but think about your life when you think about this. What happened in my life is that I thought football was my purpose. Like I thought that's what I was created to do, created to be. Why? Because I was successful at it, because I was fulfilled in doing it. It was like what I wanted to do with my life. Sometimes you have to let go of what you want to do and grab a hold of what God has called you to do. And I know for some of you right there, that's scary because you have been told your whole life to do what you want to do. Now, sometimes it works out, but for the majority of us, what we want to do isn't always what we were called to do. So I literally wrote this chapter. I went back, scrapped it, and I rewrote this chapter. And this is probably the main chapter in my book that people hit me up the most about and get the most breakthroughs. Most people's purpose, like mine, is influenced by the world. And so when I came out my mom's womb, I had 2 older brothers. So sports was like, oh, okay, this is how you be successful. This is how you be popular. This is how you get significance. Oh, this is what I want to do. So I convinced myself that this was my purpose, that this was meant for my life based upon what I thought success was because I tied it to success. We're going to talk about this a little in a few minutes about how we tie certain things to certain things and how we tie purpose to this and this is the wrong thing to tie it to. And so I thought like this is what I was created to do because I see people who are successful. I see people making money. I see people with significance. So this has to be my purpose. Doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. You guys know this. What do you think happened when I lost football? That's right. I lost my purpose. And it reminded me that, wait a minute, like as I started to get back into my book, I was like, man, purpose is not something that you lose. Like purpose is who you are. Like you are purpose. You were created for purpose and on purpose. Like realize this right now. Look me straight in the eyes. You were created for purpose and on purpose. There is nobody like you in the world. So when we think about this, like you were given worth at birth. There's nobody in the world like you. And so when we think about like so many people try to trade in our identity for popularity. So many people try to trade in our identity to meet people's expectations. So many try to trade in our identity for the world's definition of success. And we literally lose ourselves to find something for our life that really isn't meant for our life. We sit and we live our whole entire life chasing things that we aren't meant to catch. And we wonder why we live a tired, we live a drained life. I believe once you truly embody that you are purpose, you don't have to chase things, things will chase you. That doesn't mean that you're lazy. It doesn't mean that you don't work hard. It doesn't mean, because I don't want y'all to be like, okay, cool, I ain't got to work hard. I ain't got to do nothing. Doesn't mean that. But it means that you don't have to sit there and chase things that are running away from you. And when I realized that, when I was like, man, like I am purpose, like I'm unique. There's 7 billion people in this world. There's only one of me. Think about that for a second. 7 billion. And there's only one of you. You will not find a person that is made up just like you. You find somebody that look like you, talk like you, maybe try to dress like you because you fly and they try to steal your swag and your style, but there's nobody that's like you in this world. And when you truly grasp the truth of that, you start to realize that you can take your uniqueness, you can take your gift, you can take your talent, you can take your human, how you're made up as a human, right? I'm trying to find the right word to put into that, but how you're made up as a human, you can take that literally anywhere and you can really affect the world. And my definition of purpose is just using your life to help other people. I believe that's what we're here for. I believe the human experience isn't to just win for ourselves. I believe it's to help other people through our story. It's to help other people through our knowledge. It's to help other people through our experience. So What we have to do right now before we dive into these P's that I like to call them, that I want you to tie your purpose to and not tie your purpose to, is you have to strip away the world's view of success. Like, strip it away. Get away from that, because if you're wrapped up into that, you will never think you're living your purpose. Like, somebody right now is literally, like, think about this. In this moment, it just came to me. There's an essential worker right now that's working at the grocery store, right? That might not have felt any value in their job, right? They might not have thought, there's no way that I'm here for this. It has to be more. And maybe it is more for their life. I don't know what God has for them. But just think about how valuable essential workers are right now. They're lifesavers. Like, they're the real heroes, not the people that, like myself, that you follow online. It's the people that stand on the front lines. It's the people that's risking their health in order for us to be healthy. And so now they have a deeper sense of meaning in what they're doing, right? And who they are. Now they feel like, man, like, I'm actually bringing something to the world. Now they're risking their health. Maybe for some people it's scary, but at the same time, the things that we thought had no value have tons of value. And that's the part of really understanding who you are and your purpose, meaning that it doesn't matter the job title. It doesn't matter how many followers you have online. It doesn't matter, the success in the world's views. What matters is that you understand who you are. And when you truly understand that, it doesn't matter where you go, you can make impact.